Severance Season 2 Episode 3 was so freaking great that it even unlocked in me the powers of foreseeing the future, and I can definitely see how all of the Emmys are going to this show on November. Now it's been 3 videos already in a row that I start with the words "This is the best episode yet," and if this trend will continue, I'm afraid to imagine how the fandom will react to season finale. Episode 1 had a unique running scene that instantly became classic, with fans recreating it in various very entertaining ways. Episode 2 gave us the coolest, weirdest new intro and the choreographed scene of Outie going back to Lumen, which I analyzed here in this video. And with episode 3 we once again have a unique scene of Mark's reintegration that was shot and edited in an astonishing way. And it may sound like every time I'm praising the cinematography and the visual aspects of Severance, but it's obvious that the strongest component of this show is its story and its characters, and this is what we're going to analyze in today's video. So hello everyone and welcome to Geek Academy channel. I'm your detective host Igor, and oh my god, what the hell is going on? I am so excited, and I will never have to become rich in order to buy myself some wine, so I'm never gonna be sad, according to Rickon's logic, because usually at that point of my reviews of any TV show, I'm starting to make some excuses. I'm like, yeah guys, you know, this is episode 3, this is episode 4, they cannot keep the same pace all the time, they need to make those slower episodes in order to stretch their budget, blah blah blah. But here we can see that not only they are not lowering the pace, they're picking it up every episode, and this one was a complete blast. First of all, I'm so happy that right now we have an episode with both Innies and both Outies. Even though we spent a little more time with Innies, it still like sounds logical, and maybe hopefully in the next episodes we're gonna spend a little more time with Outies, probably gonna spend a lot of time with Mark and his reintegration process. And just think about it, how many amazing storylines right now developing in front of our eyes. We have Dylan with his wife and him being, you know, manipulated by Milkshake. There we have Milkshake himself becoming more and more interesting character with his, you know, promotion and how he reacts to it. And we have Selvig and the secrets with her mom, and the Cold War with Helena there, and we have Irving and her search for the dark hole that's probably gonna be developed in the next episode. And obviously everything that happened with Helena and Mark, both Innie and Outie, everything is completely blowing my mind how this show can be so fucking good. But before we begin, as usual, I want to thank everyone who supports me on Patreon and on YouTube. Your financial support, your donation is what makes this channel possible, and I welcome a new motivator, Kesma. Again, thank you so much for joining this small and awesome community, and as usual I prepared a lot of interesting facts for you, so
these facts should be very pleasing. Try to enjoy each equally.
So just like the episode, let's begin with Miss Selvig. We're seeing her in her white car, and yeah, I'm a little bit late to the party, but right now I also know that this car is basically called Volkswagen White Rabbit, and this is not the first reference we have to Alice and obviously Matrix with the red and blue pills and the red and blue fishes, and now we have also White Rabbit. And since Selvig is the one to drive this car, maybe she's supposed to be some kind of a guide. Maybe her goal and her intent is basically to guide Mark to, I don't know, to understanding that Gemma is basically there, and Miss Casey and Gemma, this is the same person, or maybe there's something else, but she's obviously supposed to be some kind of a guide here. Anyway, we're moving forward, like we're listening to the song Love Spreads. In the podcast, Ben Stiller was talking about like this is the music from his generation, this is something that him and Miss Selvig, as he assumed, would listen in this moment, even though it's kind of like a rock, not something that you associate with her. Still, they wanted to put this song, doesn't have any deeper meaning or something like this. You are more than welcome to listen to the podcast.
That song, that Stone Roses song, Love Spreads, it's not something that probably you would guess would be a music cue to go with Cobell. But I really felt like Stone Roses, it's her era. If we don't know what time frame the show is actually in, but for Patricia and myself, you know, that 90s era music, it felt like the right era for her. And when we put that song on for the radio that she turns on, just there's something about the vibe of that song.
So we can see that Miss Selvig here, she's driving to a town called Salt's Neck, and there is no town like that. I search in Google Maps, there is no settlement, nothing, not a village, nothing. So this is something that is invented for the purpose of this TV show, and we have seen many times that this a story takes place in an alternative universe, in an alternative history line, or something like this. So Salt Neck is probably a place where Miss Selvig mom stays, because as soon as she sees this sign, she decides to stop and turn around. Like I tried to find in this moment for previous season some kind of reference to Salt Neck. We can see here like a carnival, like there was some kind of a carnival, obviously for Keir Egan and his, worshippers, praise Keir, but I couldn't find any mention for it. But anyway, when we move forward, we can see that in her car, there is this breathing tube from season 1.
And she has this moment, she looks down to the front passenger seat, and we see that little breathing tube.
Yeah.
We don't know what she's thinking, but we get the sense that maybe something with Salt's Neck and that breathing tube are connected. And we know that breathing tube, if we look closely in last season, was had the name Cobell on it.
Yeah.
It's written on it Charlotte Cabell, so it's probably her mom. Like Miss Cabell, mentioned her mom many times. She said like, my mom is an atheist. She talked about, hell, blah, blah, blah from episode 1. Then she said her mom is Catholic, and basically it takes like 9 hours of work to make, like children be happy or some shit like this. So she talks a lot about her mom, and her mom, as, the prevalent theory, probably had some kind of an involvement with one of the Agans. And maybe Miss Cabell is, illegitimate child of the dynasty, and this is why she was given a promotion. This is why she wanted to prove herself. Like we know this is a bit of a cliche. We've seen this many times in movies. Like if you are the unwanted child, you really want to prove yourself, and you want to show that you're basically as good as the ones that got everything because they are the legitimate children. Even though this whole concept of legitimate children and illegitimate children is very fucking stupid. Anyway, we're moving forward like to this conversation. We can see that I was kind of right about, Miss Cobell's intentions, and this is why she really didn't want to leave the MDR floor. She doesn't want any other job. She doesn't give a crap if she's gonna get, a position of a CEO. She needs to finish what she started, the Cold Harbor. So there is a big question here. Why this Cold Harbor file is so freaking important? We have seen them, refining many files and succeeding, like a Sienna, Haley finished this in the previous season. There are probably many more than that. But Cold Harbor, it looks like the whole Lumen operation, the whole Severance floor is there for Mark to finish this file. Why is it so important? There are a lot of theories. Mine is basically they're trying somehow to revive and recreate one of the Agans in, Gemma's body or something like this. It sounds a little bit far-fetched. I don't see that much of evidence to support this, but so far it's the only thing that sounds a bit logical, and it works with Lumen's ideology and philosophy. So yes, I told you she has to finish what she started, and then we have another like a hint to Keir Egan's philosophy, which kind of resembles, USSR, Soviet Union, like there is no I, there is only collective, socialism, communism. I hear ego, hubris, arrogance. Keir teaches us they only cause pain. By the way, I added everything to my board. You are more than welcome to check it in the pinned comment. So yeah, this is the moment when you can feel the bitterness. Like I was not born into it. She said like basically I achieved everything with my own 2 hands, not like you, Helena, who were basically just born Aegon, and this is why you have this amazing position in this company. Yes, it feels like a bitterness, and it can be a bitterness of illegitimate child here. Maybe there is something there to this theory. So far from all we have, it's probably the best one yet. So yeah, this is the moment when Helena probably decides that, for Miss Cabell, it's time to be removed from the chessboard. She's basically talking to Natalie, and she's saying like, please see if the board is available to see me and Miss Cabell right now. And we don't hear the answer of Natalie. Natalie is probably even saying something like, what the hell are you talking about? I was just about to go to sleep and I'm drinking my yogurt or something like this. What the hell are you talking about right now? But Helena Helena is obviously not showing this. She's saying like, yeah, let's go to the board because, board, you basically do like this and everybody shows up to talk to Miss Cobell because she's so freaking important. And at this moment, as soon as Miss Cobell realizes that something fishy here, maybe once again being an illegitimate child, knowing that, one of the Agans had an affair, knocked up somebody, maybe Agan even raped her mother. So obviously she knows something, and this is probably the moment she starts to realize that knowing doesn't protect her from being, as I told you, removed from the chessboard. So she decides to skedaddle from there, and we can see here that Helena is very, very bummed in this moment. She was already planning something, and it's probably not a conversation with the board, even though I have some theory about the board, who they are and what they are. We're gonna get to that in a couple of minutes, so maybe they were actually going to see the board. Everything is possible. Meanwhile, we move into Mr. Milkshake, and he's coming back to Lumen. He's obviously also a bit upset. He's seen his failure in the shape of Mark's balloons, and he's obviously angry. And as soon as he sees Natalie smiling there, he's obviously a little bit prepared and a little bit, cautious. Something bad is gonna happen. They're gonna punish him. But before that, in that moment, we once again see 3 lamps. I know I'm a crazy person. I know this probably there is no connection to this moment at all that we have seen in previous episode with the 3 lamps of Mark that we've seen also in season 1, but maybe there is a connection because it kind of seems there is one and they're trying to imply it somehow, trying to show it to us somehow, so I notice, I share. But here in this moment we can see Milkshake's body language. He's basically not ready for what's about to come. He's like, yeah, of course board is on the line, obviously I'm gonna be demoted or I'm gonna be fired, but no, it's completely the opposite. Look at the board. So the board never talks to us. It's always like static feedback, except from one moment from season 1 when Miss Cobell was screaming, "Are you even there? Is the board even there?" And the board said, yes.
Is the board even there?
Yes.
So let's move on and analyze a little bit Natalie's behavior here. She's saying the board says hello. She's basically a mouthpiece for the board. We don't hear the board, we hear only the static feedback, but somehow she knows exactly what the board wants. And we know already that board actually exists. Somebody was talking to Miss Cobell in season 1. So yeah, like in this moment, she's saying that the board entirely desires for you to feel connected to Lumen history. Once again, it reminds me of this moment from season 1 and the quote from James Egan, whatever his name is pronounced. They have to be weird, right? Like everybody is in Lumen, every Egan, they have to find a way to be a little bit weird. They're not gonna be Jamie, they're gonna be Jamie or something, Jamie, whatever. Maybe it's because, they really like gold, so it's Jamie. Anyway, history lives in us whether we learn it or not. Once again, they're obsessed with being immortal, with staying in everybody's minds. They need to reach this immortality and become a part of human history. Everybody needs to remember the fucking Agans, and especially Kier. Praise Kier. This moment was completely weird, giving Milkshake his images, him being Kier, Agan, all of his cycle of life, and we can see like Milkshake being a kid, and then him being like some kind of distinguished gentleman here. At this moment, I was not exactly sure how Milkshake reacts to it. It felt like he is moved, but then again, it felt like he's pretending to be moved, and I couldn't put my finger on it. Like, what do you think about it? Please write to me in your wizened comments. So yeah, this moment is once again makes me think about this whole Lumen's obsession in everybody living through Kier, or Kier living through everybody, staying immortal. How many, by the way, images and drawings we have seen of Kier Egan, and it kind of looks a little bit different in many of them. So maybe there are a lot of images for other employees there, like everybody is being Kier. You get to be the Kier, you get to be the Kier, everybody gets to be Kier. Anyways, I told you this is called the cycle. Like every one of the Agans, they have their own cycle. Like we were talking about the Ambrose cycle in episode 2 of season 1. Ambrose is the second CEO of Lumen, and we can see like Natalie, she's smiling with passion. It looks like she forces herself. Like notice this scene, like if you need to rewatch it because it really feels like somebody pushing her like lips, towards her ears, so she will smile, like the board controls her completely, maybe even. I don't know, this is already a hypothesis of mine, like a theory of mine, but maybe they actually control her own movements. So like this is the image we have seen before, Kier Agan, he was born a sickly small child, and notice he was obviously not a poor child. He had some money for wine and for some servants and doctors there. So he obviously not from a poor family, and in 86 2060 or 8040, whenever he was born, you were either very poor or very rich. There was no in between, so we can assume that Keir Egan was freaking rich. And obviously being rich probably helped him in building this Lumen industry. So anyway, like this is the image we've seen before. He is this white guy here, white boy, and here is the image once again, Mr. Milkshake, this drawing that we have seen in season 1. Bert and Irving were admiring it. It's called Keir Invites You to Drink of His Water. It kind of sounds a little bit perverted to me, but maybe it's just me. Anyway, we're moving forward. Once again, look at Mr. Milkshake. Look at his face. I cannot read his emotions here. Either he's moved or he feels insulted. So once again, let's look at the words that Natalie is saying. The board wishes to express that I, Natalie, it's not even I want to tell you that I also was given those kind of images when I was ascending to this position that I do right now. No, it's the board wants me to tell you that I, Natalie, so she is complete mouthpiece. She's controlled 100%. And this moment, like when she's smiling and she's saying the board conducted the call, look at her face here. She's like, it feels like she's trying to say something. She really wants to say something to Milkshake that it's not being dictated to her from the board, but she can't. Because once again, she is being controlled either directly or by some kind of a manipulation or, being, as I told you once again, a fanatic and being, like a devoted follower of Keir. Praise Keir. Anyway, like we move to his system. This is the management system and I have no idea how computers work. I know how to turn them on and how to switch them off. Here, I don't know exactly what we see, but we see like 4 listings. I don't know if it's 4 departments or he's looking right now at the log of his 4 MDR employees. I don't know exactly what is going on. Maybe someone who has a more technical mind can give some insight about it. And yeah, like this moment, look at the screen. By the way, once again, the active sources, we have some kind of weird abbreviations, the log, the SRC. No idea, no clue, but it has to mean something in my mind because in season 1, when we see Cobel's screen, we look at the same program. So 3 or 4 years ago, when season 1 was releasing, they already thought about this operating system of Lumen, so it has to have some kind of a meaning. Once again, if somebody knows computers and programming and you have any idea what it can mean, I would love to read your comments. And as I told you, Mr. Milkshake takes, all of those drawings and he puts them on the top drawer. The top drawer is usually the things that you don't have any use for them, but sometimes you think maybe one day I'm gonna actually use this, whatever it is. So it kind of once again symbolizes that he doesn't really give a crap about those images. He probably feels a little bit insulted. I'm not sure about it 100% because in this scene it really felt like he was moved, like like he didn't have any words how amazing this gesture from the board was for him. But we can see this is like a basement, like this is a storage for the administration. We've seen the cups, Miss Selvig always used those kind of cups for her coffee. So, and he pushes it here, so he probably doesn't give a shit. So let's talk a little bit about the board. What do you think about this crazy idea? Maybe the board is actually all of the Egans being preserved in some kind of, I don't know, like cold baths or some kind of cryonic, whatever you want to call it, capsule or something like this. And they have just enough life force to control everybody, to control Natalie, to control maybe, the Drummond guy or whatever his name is, and they never speak. And in order to say a word like yes, it requires a lot of power from them, a lot of strength, so they just never usually do it until like there is one very specific moment when they have to. But they communicate somehow through the earpiece with Natalie and maybe somebody else through, once again, I don't know, using artificial intelligence, using some kind of a computer program, because it feels like, if you want to meet the board, and that the board is actually going to meet you whenever you want to meet them, like it happened with Helena there and Miss Selvig, if she was telling the truth, probably they are immobile. They cannot really move to any other place. So maybe speaking to the board is actually going to some pretty crazy place with, 8 bodies laying there waiting for their next revolving or some shit like this. And those bodies will actually communicate with you through Natalie or through somebody else. So this is just a crazy thought, if I'm gonna develop it a little bit more in my head, I'm gonna make a separate video about it. Meanwhile, we're moving forward to Dylan, and I absolutely loved his storyline in this episode. It starts with him doing the work because Mr. Milkshake's manipulation works. He gave him what he wanted. Now he's gonna be first of all special, and then he's gonna get what he wanted from the end of season 1, and this is to see his family. As soon as he realized that he has one, now he's gonna be obsessed about it until like the day he dies. Anyway, in this moment he basically doesn't really want to fail Irving, but he has to stay here. He has to be the good worker. He kind of becomes Irving from season 1, who was basically, yes man, everything, yes, praise Kir all the time. And when Miss Huan comes to take him, we can notice, by the way, that she has a black worker card. So this is also something that I added to my board, because we now have the black, the green, and the blue. So if we know what departments have blue and green, we can only guess what black symbolizes here. So far, she's the only one who has this kind of card, this kind of color. So she takes him to to this place to talk to his wife, and as usual, I'm gonna have some fun with the joke about her being a kid. And this is not something that was exclusive to Mark W. It looks like everybody is asking her like, why are you a child? And she just has to keep answering, because of the day I was born. So it's funny to me, and hopefully to you too. And this moment was just reminding me once again the end of season 1, one of the cult moments, one of the classic moments. Just want to geek out on this moment with you here and this situation. So look at this room. This is what Lumen considers to be warm and helpful, and this is where family is supposed to meet. We have like this image of them, completely fake image, when probably it was taken 50 times. When I'm saying fake, I don't mean it was photoshopped. When I'm saying fake, it was basically you need to smile and look, and you're just in a room with a photographer. There is no real emotions. You just want to make a picture there.
This was a Jeremy Hindle idea to kind of like refabricate the room into this sort of like, kind of lush little, very anodyne kind of warm place. It's a Lumen version of warm. I like that the backdrop behind the windows where the computers were is like a sort of like a natural history museum painting of a beach and some gulls.
Yeah, and you get the sound effects of seagulls and kind of beachy vibes.
Yes, yeah.
Which is just...
And like reeds, like dried
reeds.
That's
right. It's also condescending.
Yes, and...
So I'm so happy that his wife actually brought a real image, a real picture of his whole family. They're pretty happy. This is probably a Halloween or maybe some kind of a reenactment of some sort, but they were all of the family together. Everybody was happy. They're smiling. The kids are happy. This is a picture. This picture has life in it. The one that we've seen before doesn't have any life in it at all. So this is once again the room, as I told you, that Lumen considers to be warm. We can see a small miniature statue of Kir Egan. We saw the big one in season 1 when Mark was confronting the kids that stood next to the statue of Kir Egan, the representative of the whole Mind Collective. And what is very interesting, that despite of them being followed by Miss Huan and watched by her to see that nothing happens, we can actually notice that, like his wife Gretchen is starting to feel something towards Innie Dylan. When he says like, I'm gonna do whatever I can for you to be proud of me, like we can see that she looks at him a little bit different. And I can understand her. Her husband, Outie, is depressed, is sad, doesn't really do anything. Even when, Innie Dylan is asking her, is he kind of a fuck up? She hides her gaze. She doesn't want to answer because this is what she thinks. And this is devastating. This is heartbreaking. I don't wish it on anybody. So your woman, your wife, your girlfriend would feel that way about you. This is hard. This is something you should definitely fix if this is the situation in your life. But here she can see somebody who is excellent at his job, who is happy, who is, energetic. So she obviously starts to feel something. And we know she finds this dude attractive already. So, half of the work already done.
That Dylan's wife starts to have these feelings for his Innie as if he's another guy.
Yeah, she sort of is keeping things from the Outie and not being completely honest with him about the nature of her experience.
Yeah, because you get the feeling from that hug that there's a little bit of spark of something, which in a normal world would be like, oh, this is actually, could be good, but they are two separate entities. And I don't know, that's just for me what's so fun about the show, is to be able to explore premises like that.
So this is also gonna be interesting. This is what I was talking about when I started this video. Every storyline here separately can be a very cool TV show, but we have all of them together in just one TV show, and this is super amazing. This season is probably gonna be one of my favorites if it's gonna stay that way, if it's gonna keep the same pace. So we move into this moment and we can see their family, and we can see that his wife is some kind of a medical worker. As far as we can see, the badge here on her shoulder is kind of a blurry, but it looks like somebody from the medical department. Maybe she's a nurse, maybe she's one of the first responders, I don't know, but it kind of explains why Dylan is the one to sit with the kids during the night and she's going to work. So she's probably staying with the kids during the day when Dylan is working in Lumen, and during the night she works and he is the one to stay with the kids. And also look at this moment, look at the doll. Tell me, am I hallucinating or this is a doll of Keir Egan? I don't remember that many dolls of young children with this kind of a beard. Maybe I see Keir Egan everywhere, praise Keir, but once again, I would love to know what you hear. And I would kind of assume if this is the doll of Keir Egan, probably this is not something that Dylan would want to see in his house, especially after he was fired in that matter, like without giving him any explanation, basically, like after everything, you're fired, don't bother coming tomorrow. I would hold a grudge at this moment. Anyway, we move to Irving, and by the way, how freaking lucky are we to have John Turturro and Christopher Walken together in this show. We can be lucky with just, John Turturro. We can be super lucky with just Christopher Walken. But once again, this TV show doesn't really want to settle with just enough. It wants to blow our mind, and so far it succeeds at it with an amazing success rate. Sorry for the tautology here. So this moment when he looks at Miss Huang and with a little bit smug and a little bit proud of himself, he's like, whole pass.
Lilu Dallas multipass.
Exactly, this is right away made me think about The Fifth Element, and Lilu was there also like a child, and she was so excited that she has this multipass, and now we know that our Innies, they're also basically children, even if they're like for 10 years already there, which is like some kind of a veteran there. It's like this is somebody who is like one of the oldest workers there. It's still a 10 years old kid, so this moment was super good. I mean, this is why you need to have those kind of actors, those kind of a caliber in your TV show. And yeah, he goes to the O&D department and he's basically, nostalgic about his time that he spent with Bert here. We see the guy with an incredible mustache there, like look at the mustache. I don't know how it even holds, like the gravity is not working on this thing, I don't know, but we have seen this mustache also in season 1, it's still there. Whatever this guy is, I need to know his story and his history and how he's connected to Lumen, because he has a potential to be one of the cult characters. And this is the image, by the way, that I kind of want to discuss right now. The image of Keir Egan and his wife Imogen, and he met his wife while being a stewman in an ether factory. Kinda start to smell some bullshit about all Keir Egan's story of life, because we have seen him being a very rich kid, and now we've seen him working in a factory, like being a simple man at this period. I mean, people used to live in $1 or $2 a day or a week or something like this during this period, and if he worked at this factory, so he's supposed to be, one of the simple guys, one of the ones that, grew up and were able to climb the career ladder or something like this. So something is not working here for me. Maybe there is an explanation, but so far I don't see one. So this is the moment from season 1, and I kind of enjoyed comparing it to season 2, the way they're looking at each other right now, just like great friends. They're laughing, they're sharing stories about Bert, and like when she's telling him, like, I don't care if you're Bert Egan himself, blah, 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 I'm not afraid of you. And she's saying like Bert was not afraid of anything. The only time he was scared is when he went to meet Irving, and he basically worked on his hair for 2 hours. And this is the moment, and the hair looks amazing. Kudos to you, Bert. And here we can see that she recognizes the dark hole, obviously the one that Irving was drawing obsessively, his Outie, and she tells him like there's something that's called Export's Hall. So once again, a very interesting storyline, the development of which we're gonna see probably in the next episodes. Every hero has a lot of agency. Every hero, every character here has an interesting and engaging story. What the hell is going on? What did we do to deserve this kind of an amazing TV show? We probably all have a very good karma. Praise Keir. Anyway, we're moving forward, like she's saying that right now they're always sending a guy, so maybe they're gonna follow this guy, or maybe she just remembers how to go to this place and she's gonna show Irving how to get there. So we move to our main story, Mark, Innie, and Mark Outie. And we're gonna start with the Innie, obviously, story-wise it makes sense. So we can see that first of all, after the movie, after the cartoon, there is not much trust still to Lumen. Like they are saying here, when Lumen says we're gonna listen to you, they basically implying they're gonna listen to every conversation. So beware. Everything has a double meaning with Lumen. Especially when you leave an elevator and you see an image of Kir Hagen pardoning his traitors and they're buried in the sand and you can see only their heads. Probably the message there is not, oh my god, you're so welcome and we're gonna listen to you right now and everything is gonna be happy, just like in Google Quarters. And at this moment I'm probably gonna have to read again that I am sorry and this is all I can be, because I was wrong. In episode 1 I thought this is Heli R. I couldn't imagine a situation where Helena would invent such a bullshit story that she saw a night gardener, but it kinda starts to feel more and more and more that this is Helena. I'm 99.99% confident that this is her. She's so tender, she's so soft, she's like so happy to be with everybody, and we know that Heli R is a force of nature. She is the kind of person that sees her goal, she sees the target, there is no obstacle. If there's gonna be an obstacle, she's gonna rip it apart. And usually she behaves like that. And here we can see her, like consulting Irving. She's like, we're gonna be with you. We are here for you. We got you. It doesn't feel like Heli. And it's not like Heli is a bad person. No, she's an awesome person. She's an amazing person to have as a friend. Obviously, she has a good heart and all, but she's not a very soft person. She is the person who jumps out of the elevator to kiss the guy that she likes, in case she'll never gonna see him again. She's not a kind of girl that stands patiently and waits for him to kiss her while he is, being stumbled her. By the way, this moment was amazing. Like, this is when they speak about, like, what you're gonna do if you're gonna find Miss Casey. By the way, amazing plan by Mark's Innie. I couldn't think of anything better myself. You take Miss Casey, you go to the room, you exit together, and then you let nature work its way. All of the Outies are gonna understand that something fucked up happened, and this is my wife here that's supposed to be dead, and she's somehow standing in front of me. So yeah, this will fix the situation. But this moment, I was watching it with a smile on my face until, Mark fumbled up there and was like, oh. I mean, if there is a girl, like if somebody who's watching my videos right now and you're like 16, 17, 80, I know some of you are, but if you are less than 80, don't watch, I swear a lot, okay? Switch it off. But if you see a girl looking at you that way, this is the clearest sign there is to kiss her. She really wants Mark to kiss her in this situation, and Mark is like, okay, let's move on. I felt like a father of a kid that saw his child, trying to skate and then falling on his ass. I was so rooting for them to kiss, and usually those kind of romantic moments, they don't work on me at all. I mean, my favorite movie of all time, Lord of the Rings, I've seen it probably hundreds of times, but every time there is Aragorn and Arwen moment and them being romantic, I mean, please shoot me in the head. I just need to skip it to the part where something interesting happens. But sometimes the romantic moments feel so realistic, something that you definitely experienced in your life, it's just great moment, just absolutely great and amazing moment. Anyway, we're moving forward, and by the way, what happened to Kir's, quotes and do not render my creation in miniature or something like this? You remember in season 1 when they stated the rule never to draw maps to Heli, they explained it with render not my creation in miniature. I don't know why he sounds like Stalin in my head, but maybe he is. So we have some kind of a miniature there. Something that looks like a big barn. I don't know if this is something we're gonna see in the TV show, but maybe it's gonna be built somewhere. We have seen a huge freaking house built in this floor, so why not a barn? So as soon as they arrive to this place, we are seeing Brienne of Tar there preparing to kill them before they kill her. And this is not something new. We have seen, Lumen using the divide and conquer like there's no tomorrow. Everybody here hates everybody. Every department is being aware and afraid of the other department. department. So as soon as she sees somebody from the other department, her first instinct is they're coming here to kill me. And if you remember in season 1, when Bert arrived to MDR, Dylan was grabbing a stapler because this is the strongest weapon he has in this moment, and he was ready to defend his life in this moment. And if you remember, we have seen this, those images, those drawings that being distributed by different departments. And in the department of MDR, the good guys are wearing the blue badges, and the bad guys, the one that came to massacre them, wearing the green badges. But for O&D, it's the complete opposite story. The R&D with the blue badges, they're coming there to kill everybody, and O&D with the green, work cards. So yeah, it still works. And we discovered the name of this new department. It's called Mammalians Nurturable. And once again, everything in Lumen has to be weird. You're not gonna call it Mammals Nurture. You're not gonna do this. You have to call it weirdly, so everybody will know that you're fucking weird. So Mammalians Nurture, whatever this is supposed to be, Ben Stiller promised to us in the podcast that we're gonna discover what is the purpose of the ghosts, because so far we know that we have Cold Harbor. This is the file that everybody wants to be successful. Mark has to complete it. Every small and big resource of Lumen right now is mobilized for Mark to achieve his goal. But you have also goats here. I don't know what for. Maybe if Mark is going to be thirsty, they're going to give him some goat milk, but probably not. Probably there's going to be some kind of a different explanation. And I was talking about it in many, many videos already. Goats, they're supposed to symbolize malice for some reason. And once again, this is the most illogical, the most expected temper to be removed completely from human being. And maybe this is why it's represented as goats, but honestly, I myself don't really like this theory, just the only one that comes to my mind. So we move here, and she's like basically saying, once again, I'm learning English, by the way, thank you. I'm probably never gonna use the word fripperies, but right now I know what the hell is that. So she's probably being punched by a goat. I don't know why else you would have a sign like that on your cheek. And of course, this moment, and guys and girls, I am sorry if you came here just for the dry information, for all of the facts. This is what I was being able to find, but I cannot not geek out at this moment when we have a cowbell in a TV show where Christopher Walken is one of the cast members. I have to get more cowbell. I mean, fellas, I have to get more cowbell. Come on. Anyway, we're moving forward to the next scene, and we see that Mr. Milkshake already, everybody knows that he is the big boss. Everything is on the same floor. So whatever Milkshake is doing with MDR, he's doing the same with this mammalic department or whatever they are. And we can see something starts to be born here. We can see that there is a new movement, probably something that's been started with Rickon's book, because the department, the Divide and Conquer, this is the idea of Lumen. And Mark is actually presenting us with a new idea. Together we thrive, divided we fall. He's saying forget about departments. This is an Innie problem. All of the Innies, we have to be together. I actually can see, the end of the season, Mark is leading the rebellion of everybody who is an Innie on this floor. And he makes, this connection between all of the departments. I think it's going to be interesting if this is what's going to happen. So yeah, this is the moment. Was also kind of funny to me when he asked her about the goats. If you would be missing one of your goats, would you not look for it? And we can see that Brienne of Tarth, she's looking at this guy. By the way, I have to ask, when they leave the severed floor, and they leave the severed floor because, Miss Casey told this guy that basically he's Outie really good at gazing at the stars or something like this. So when they move, are they forced to take a shower before? Because if I would be working all day with farm animals, and I would leave it and then being switched on to the Outie, my Outie would definitely smell what I was doing for the whole day. So I wonder how it actually works with the keeping the secret and everything else. So also she looks at this guy, so she considers them her children, her goats. And this is the guy from season 1, obviously. Now, this is not all. This is the weirdness never ends with Lumen. So they ask Mark and Haley to show their bellies. Please show us your bellies. I also wanted to see, Haley our belly for a while already, but, for a very different reason. Okay, now I'm gonna have to read the I am sorry, and sorry is all I am again. I mean, I cannot catch a break. Anyway, just like MDR and Outie, they have the legend of the massacre and everybody's coming to kill us and blah blah blah. Here they probably have their own legend, their own lore, like somebody in the different departments, they're like kangaroos, they have pouches, they're gonna come and they're gonna steal everything from you, and they have pouches on their bellies, and you should definitely check if they didn't steal. And this guy is like, doesn't prove anything. Just like Dylan, by the way, like in season 1, every time Dylan was presented with the fact that you don't have to be aware and wary of O&D, he was like, nah, we're gonna see, we're gonna wait and see, and you're gonna see that I was right. Anyway, we move forward to Mark's Outie. And by the way, I thought that Rickon's book cannot get any weirder and funnier and stupider, but no, apparently I was wrong, because one of his ideas is basically that the reason the poor people are actually sad is because they don't have money for wine. Because when you're sad, beer is not gonna help you. Even though I would argue that it's definitely gonna help you, helped me many times in my life. Beer is awesome. But if you are sad and you have money for the wine, fear not, it will help you and you're never gonna be sad. I don't know how everybody is not alcoholic after they read his book. Whatever, like as I told you, stupid book, but somehow it made our Innies actually better. So I don't know if you're aware, I'm aware of it thanks to my comments, amazing comments in my YouTube comment section. By the way, you should definitely write some comments, call to action. You can see I'm a YouTuber. But there is a theory that, Rickon is somehow involved with Lumen. Maybe he was helping them somehow. Maybe he's one of the founders. Maybe he's one of the executives, whatever. But I was like always dismissing it. It sounded a bit stupid to me because Rickon is not a very bright guy, even though he's a PhD. But, like in real world, we have a lot of PhDs that fucking stupid. So that's not a big surprise. But here in this moment, we can see they have a goat head statue in their house. It made me think maybe there is something to this theory. I mean, why else would they put this statue in their home? I mean, the creators, why would they give us a hint? Because they know that we notice everything. Obviously, we're not gonna miss anything. And if they're gonna put a head of a goat in Rickon's house, we're gonna notice it and we're gonna start building even more theories. And since we're talking about the statues, we also have this kind of weird statue. And by the way, somebody should be charged for that. This is obviously a felony to have something like this at your house. What if children are gonna come over? I mean, you have to be arrested for that, right? Anyway, we move forward to the next scene, and Devon is talking about the Mrs. Lustgarten. She was a kindergarten teacher of Mark's, and it's translated as the Garden of Eden. This is the last name, this is its meaning. I don't know if it's connected somehow, but once again, I just checked it and I'm sharing it with you. So finally we get to the big moment, to the biggest event of this episode. Marx is arriving to the bridge. As we know, this is the symbol of Kirtown. The bridge is for some reason once again, and suddenly we see Regabi. She appears out of nowhere. She was obviously following Mark, I don't know, or maybe this is the same place where Petey was hiding in the previous season. So we can see that Regabi, we knew it already that she was working for Lumen, but she obviously was one of the architects or one of the creators of the whole Severance program. We can see that she knows all of the small details. She's saying to Mark that, your pupils are basically being dilated for a couple of seconds, for a second there, while you move in the elevator. So whatever you try to do right now with your retina, you're trying to burn the message, it's not gonna work, and you can make yourself blind. She knows every small detail, and she also have seen Miss Casey, Gemma, so it's kinda made me assume that maybe she was the one to sever her. Maybe she was the one behind this whole process. Maybe it was her motivation to leave Lumen. You work for the company, you kinda, there's benefits, there is salary, and then they make you to hide some woman, pretend like she was dead, lie to her husband, basically break this whole family unit, break this man's happiness. At some point you will be like, maybe I should resign, but sometimes you know too much and resigning is not an option. So here, like she's saying, I'm better at it right now. So from the moment she did it to Petey, and maybe Petey was patient zero there, it's been a couple of days, let's say it that way. She already did this process on many other people. So between Petey and Mark, there were at least a couple more. And she's saying, I'm better at this now. It doesn't mean that there is no risk at all. It just means that she is better. She's not perfect. She's not 100% safe with it. So it's kind of scary for Mark, but we're gonna have to wait and see what's gonna be with him. So she's preparing to the operation. We can see those, like MacGyver kind of tools, electronic tools here. They look kind of old. Definitely not the modern computer technology we have seen in episode 2 in season 1. She's measuring kilohertz and megahertz. This is the frequency of the brain waves. We can see here this kind of, once again, the KV, the MIA, the ER. Once again, this is abbreviature for those smart thingies that the brain technicians know way better than I am. So here in this moment she put some kind of a salt, and I would love somebody to explain to me what is the purpose of that, why she needed this. It kind of creates for her some kind of a map. Once again, this is some kind of a MacGyver bullshit here. She's just basically trying to utilize everything that she has in the house. And by the way, those waves here kind of remind me the whole break room. We kind of thought this is maybe a polygraph. This is when they were testing if they are saying a lie or not. But maybe they were actually, testing their brainwaves. Maybe Lumen perfected the whole brainwaves technology, and they know exactly how to manipulate, how to sever people through this understanding, through this knowledge. So yeah, we have the wires, the yellow, the green, the red, and the blue. And Rugabi is telling Mark that the monitors differentiate the 5 brainwave frequencies, and they're called basically delta, theta, alpha, beta, and gamma. This is not an invention of the TV show. This is actually exists. You can find the images. There's like an abundance of them in Google. We can see how they work, those brain waves. We can see, for example, the delta. This is the dream list. This is the NREM sleep. This is the pain relief, access of subconscious, and loss of body awareness. When this happens to you, your brain is working on this frequency. And for example, if you're working on 7 until 13 hertz, so this is when you're creative, this is when you're focused, this is when you're learning, this is when you have your serotonin boost. So yeah, this is interesting, something definitely worth diving in more detail, and maybe make a different video about it. So yeah, this is obviously very interesting, and can I just say how much I love my job being a YouTuber. Every day I wake up and I have no idea what I'm gonna learn today, and it's gonna be probably something very interesting. But this kind of once again made me think, okay, we have, the Wolf, Rolik, Dread, and Malice, and they trying to refine them on MDR, but they put them in 5 different folders. But they have to put them equally. You remember this whole requirement? You have to put them equally. So kind of just didn't make any sense to me. Like, okay, so you put one here, and then here, and then here, and then here. But every time we see them refining, we can see that the percentage is kind of different in every folder. 1%, then 5%, then 3%. So it's not exactly completely equal. And then when we read the manual, from the Lexington letter, like, should the numbers not be a correct match for the bin in which you attempted to refine them, a thumbs down will appear on screen to inform you that the refinement was not successful. The dataset will then return to its original place in the data field. So yeah, you can refine it to in wrong bin. So maybe each bin represents a different brain frequency, and every brain frequency that represents your activity, your your routine, your life. When you're asleep, you need to have the correct amount of the 4 temperaments inside of you. Every time you change your activity, your brain frequency changes, so you have to make each and every one of the brain frequencies, you have to tame thy tempers in every part of your life. Just a theory, once again, if there's something that's going to be developed a little bit more in my head, this is definitely deserve a separate video. I mean, what they are doing in MDR. So let's move to this moment as she's explaining to Mark. We have 1 frequency, 2 wave per oscilloscope. This is one of the electronic devices we have seen so far. So we have 1 frequency, basically, those 5 frequencies probably being combined to 1, but they're divided to 2 waves, the Innie and the Outie, and they need to be combined. And this is exactly what she's gonna do here. So they are not in sync, but not yet. And Rugabi is asking Mark, what does your mouth taste like? Because many times when there is some kind of a neurological traumatic experience, there is a damage in your brain, you will feel a bad taste in your mouth, and as soon as she hears that there is nothing there, she is relieved and she knows she can continue. So did you remember the protocol? Do you remember the protocol? We don't know the protocol. It stayed behind the scenes. Hopefully this is something that will be shown to us, because if you mention it, it's supposed to be important, and if it's important and you're hiding it from us, then it's even more important. I could be wrong, but once again, this is how my brain works. So relax your body. You should feel good when this is over. Who am I? Okay, the questions really similar to the questions Mark was asking Haley in episode 1 and season 1. If you remember, when she woke up, the first thing that Mark said to her, if you're gonna answer my question, I bet it will make you feel right as rain. Different words, same meaning here. And yeah, she's asking him, who is she? He's saying Asal Regabi. Asal is honey in translation. Regabi is not a very popular name. Couldn't find the translation of this last name. And we also learned Mark's mother's name, Fern Scott. I'm so happy we're getting away from the theory that Miss Cobell is actually his mother. I hope not. There's actually not that much of an age difference between those two actors. So yeah, please no. Anyway, like we move here to this moment, the eye color, the same question that was asked to Haley, what was your mother's eyes? Mark remembers, so Regabi understands that he is still not his Innie, and she keeps working. And also look at this salt here. It created those 4 big circles, 1 small circle in the middle here. And once again, it reminds this visualization of the Cold Harbor file, whatever it does to Miss Casey. Those 4 rings here obviously have something similar to the same process that Regabi does to Mark. So every time they are doing something in MDR, they are reshaping human brain waves. And this is something that probably should be classified as human abuse. Anyway, like this moment, as I told you, visually stunning. Think about how many times they filmed it, how many locations they used to film it, just to show us split of a second of this moment of Mark being on the table in his suit, in his red sweater, being in his office, waking up, and then in his basement, in his apartment. So yeah, like every episode, they find a way to surprise me visually somehow, and just bravo. I mean, I don't have any more words. So I guess this is it, and thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it for you. And if you want to support this channel in any shape or form, whatever feels comfortable for you. If you don't want to support, just by watching this video until this moment and hopefully enjoying it, this is all I can ever ask for you. I make those videos for you to watch and enjoy. Everything else is just a very nice bonus. And I also would love to invite you on Sunday. I plan to make a live stream. It's gonna be this time around. I'm gonna put different time zones right now in editing. So yeah, what we're gonna do is we're gonna watch YouTube channels that make Severance content. We're gonna watch the reviews of this episode. I don't want to be influenced by their ideas, by their findings. I just want to make it as clean as possible for you. But after I made the video, why not? I'm 100% sure that I definitely missed something. So we're probably gonna watch some YouTubers, and I would try to focus on not a crazy big channels, somebody my size or maybe even smaller, and maybe we will be able to find some gem there, somebody who we can actually support and help their channel to grow. I think it could be very, very interesting, and we can also discuss this episode 3, and discuss different theories. It's gonna be fun. So if this is something that is interesting for you, subscribe to my Telegram. This is where I'm gonna post all the notification about the future live streams. So thank you so much. I'm gonna see you on the next one. Bye!
Grassy area on a soundstage would just be impossible. And the scale of what the room was going to be, we wanted it to be really, really big.
Yeah.
So the solution was that he found a golf course out in
Jersey.
No, it was Brooklyn.
Brooklyn?
It's a golf course like in the far reaches of Brooklyn, and we built a tent over the golf course and put up some walls and supplemented the rest with the computer, and that was the environment. And it's one of the first things that we filmed for the series.